If we told you that the world of Fortnite was completely unique and unlike anything that we've ever seen before, we'd be flat out lying. Like every new video game, nothing is truly 100% original. There's always something that inspired everything in a game, whether it's a feature or something else like a location in real life. All of Fortnite's beautiful Season 8 locations have been inspired by real places, so let's take a look at some of them. One of the most interesting new locations in Season 8 of Fortnite has to be the volcano. There have been rumors of a volcano finally getting put in the Fortnite map since all the way back in Season 6, and after a few months of uncertainty, it's finally here. Hollow gives us a tour of it, and it's pretty awesome. You could go inside the volcano and find the prisoner's throne with some dragon eggs, or you could just admire it from afar, away from the dangerous streams of lava and magma. You know, they deal some heavy damage. With so many volcanoes around the world, it was hard to decide which one it looked like. But due to the tropical setting, we find it resembles the Mauna Loa in Hawaii. It's the largest subaerial volcano in the world, and only the Tamu Massif may have been bigger than it, but it's been extinct and underwater for quite some time, so we don't think it really counts. The Mauna Loa is definitely the largest active volcano on Earth, so let's go with that. Now, we could probably have picked nearly any volcano to compare its Fortnite counterpart to, but we decided to go with the biggest. Go big or go home, right? Along with the volcano, we got the new Sunny Steps point of interest. Just like Crabman Jones, we love this place. It's unlike any location that we've ever seen in Fortnite, and the colors look so good and fit the theme of Season 8. It's essentially a jungle temple, just northeast of the volcano with some decent loot. It's not the best loot, but it's pretty good. The area is very open though, so just make sure that you're ready to build at a moment's notice. But you play Fortnite, so of course you're ready to build anytime. Right away, this location made us think of the famous Machu Picchu, but then we realized that was a Mayan civilization and didn't look anything like Sunny Steps. It finally clicked in our head that it resembled a group of Aztec temples, like the famous Chichen Itza in Mexico. Hey, we never said that we were ancient history majors, but we eventually figured it out. While it just looks like a stone pyramid, you can't deny the similarities, right? Look, they both have a very long set of steps leading up to the entrance all the way at the top, and they're both in the middle of a jungle. The only difference is the color, but that's about it. Lazy Lagoon is a great name, and it replaced one of the most underappreciated locations in the game, Lazy Links. While people immediately disliked Lazy Links because it replaced one of the OG locations, Anarchy Acres. But we're not here to look at the history of the northern location. AntAntics explored Lazy Lagoon, and man is it beautiful. It looks a lot like a Caribbean beach. Pretty much any Caribbean beach, really. There's even a little port town east of the lagoon, which is common in the Caribbean. But what surprised us the most is that there's also a location in real life known as Lazy Lagoon. If you fancy a trip to Tanzania in Africa, which is a great location for a safari, you can stay at the Lazy Lagoon Island Lodge. It's a small resort on a secluded island off the coast of Tanzania, right next to a lagoon. It actually looks really awesome. It's in the middle of nowhere, but sometimes nowhere is where you want to be, and it definitely make for one heck of a vacation story. So essentially, Lazy Lagoon is based off of the real Lazy Lagoon, but in the Caribbean instead of Africa. Yeah, that's the gist of it. While not new to Fortnite in Season 8, Happy Hamlet is a relatively new point of interest because we saw it for the first time back in Season 7. Upshaw is a huge fan of the spot, and at one point believed that it would be the next Tilted Towers. Well, they even said that about Paradise Palms, and just like that location, Happy Hamlet failed to live up to the hype. That being said, we still like the style of the location even if the loot isn't very good. It reminds us of a little Scandinavian town in Denmark, Norway, or Sweden, full of snow with everyone out and going about their day. While we're sure that these small towns inspired the style of the location, its name came from somewhere else entirely. Southwest France is a beautiful region where you'll find the real-life Happy Hamlet, but don't expect to see any snow there. Instead, expect to see a small village that's a popular vacation destination. The houses are kind of similar to the ones that you see in Fortnite's Happy Hamlet, and the makeup of the village is also quite similar. We'd love to take a vacation to Happy Hamlet one day, and either location will do. Another snowy location introduced in Season 7 was Polar Peak. It started off as literally just a mountain full of snow, but each week, more and more of the peak was melting, until an entire castle was uncovered underneath. Raw Potato decided to explore this castle, and it's definitely one built for a king, the Ice King specifically. This is where he, his queen, and his dragon eggs lived. Well, the prisoner stole those dragon eggs for some reason, but they were there back in Season 7. Now, it's just the Ice King and the Ice Queen. It's a beautiful castle, but it has a very very specific style that reminds us of British medieval castles. There aren't really any of them that look exactly like the castle at Polar Peak, but if you had to pick one to compare it to, we'd go with Dover Castle in England. The architecture is very similar, even if the color and setup is completely different. They both have huge walls, a courtyard, and a large tower. We don't know if Dover Castle has a dungeon, but seeing as it was a medieval castle, we'd assume that it does. Just don't expect to see any dragon eggs there though. While it's not a named location, the hot springs just to the west of Risky Reels are a new area that players like Voxelera have been quick to notice and explore. It's a great place to relax and feel the warmth all over your skin, but don't expect them to recover your health in the middle of a battle. They're not that relaxing. We'd recommend staying away from those geysers though. We're scared that they're gonna send us flying off the map to our doom. While there are plenty of hot springs all over the world, there aren't many natural ones that humans could just go and take a casual dip in. Some of them are too hot for our skin, but in the Nordic country of Iceland, there are some hot springs that are just the right temperature. In fact, Iceland is known for its hot springs due to all the volcanoes in the small country. While you'd never think it unless you did your research, Iceland is a very popular vacation destination because of these incredible hot springs. We'd love to check it out one day, but as a Canadian channel, we'd like to vacation somewhere without the word ice in it. Thank you very much. Loot Lake has undergone plenty of changes throughout Fortnite. The first iteration of Loot Lake had a lonely island in the middle of a lake. No, Andy Samberg didn't live on that lonely island, we're sure of it. Then that island started moving around the map thanks to our boy Kevin, before having a rebirth of sorts as Leaky Lake, and then later deciding to take the Loot Lake name again. Muselk shows us this reborn Loot Lake, and it looks a lot like a group of small islands, something that geographers refer to as an archipelago. Yeah, we're busting out the fancy words in this video. The world is full of archipelagos. In fact, the whole country of Indonesia is an archipelago, but it doesn't look like anything like Loot Lake. To find a group of islands that look like Loot Lake, we'd have to take a look at the Dalmatia region of Croatia. And before you ask, yes, Dalmatians are actually from Croatia, and we're dead serious, no funny puns here. This archipelago looks a lot like Loot Lake, just a bunch of green islands very close together. If only one of these islands had some weird structure that looks like Stonehenge, it would be perfect, but sadly, that's not the case. The Pleasant Park in Fortnite isn't as pleasant as you'd think. Sure, it's great when Marshmallow is having a 10-minute set and everyone's putting their weapons aside to have a good time, but for the most part, it's anything but pleasant. Fortnite players like Gernator Jake know that Pleasant Park isn't for the faint of heart. It's an absolute war zone. While it's pure chaos in the Battle Royale, it was clearly based off of a real-life location known as Mount Pleasant Park. Yeah, it has almost the exact same name. Mount Pleasant Park is an area in Vancouver, Canada that looks a whole lot like the Pleasant Park in Fortnite. We're sure that this Pleasant Park is much more peaceful than the one in Fortnite too. While there was a bit of snow in Pleasant Park after the Ice King huffed and puffed and blew snow all over the map, typically it's not a common occurrence in Vancouver. The only difference is that the Fortnite version has a soccer field, while the real-life version has a basketball court. But hey, Epic Games can't completely copy it. Either way, they got pretty close to an exact replica of the real-life location. It seems like a great place to live. The one in Vancouver, not in Fortnite. Dusty Divot has been through a lot. It all started off as Dusty Depot with 3 boring warehouses that had absolutely terrible loot before it got hit by a meteor and turned into the Dusty Divot that we know today. Before it got all of its vegetation back though, Dusty Divot looked much different. As T Martin 2 shows us, there was almost no greenery, but there was a site located at the center of the crater, looking like where Thor's hammer dropped on Earth in his first standalone movie. Later, we got Dusty Diner located just outside the crater, letting us know that it's become a popular tourist destination. On closer inspection, it looks a lot like the Arizona Meteor Crater. It's found in the northern Arizona desert, and the style is very similar to Dusty Divot. We mean, a crater's a crater, but it still closely resembles it. There's some vegetation outside and inside the crater too. The Arizona Meteor Crater even has a building right next to it, and that's right where Dusty Diner is, as well as a road that leads right to it. They're just way too similar to each other. It's like they're both craters or something. Oh yeah, that's right, they are. The most popular landing spot in Fortnite is still Tilted Towers. As the Deadly Cable shows us, there are so many iconic buildings in Tilted Towers that many people compare it to New York City. Now, New York City is at least 1,000 times bigger than Tilted Towers, so we don't see that comparison at all. But there are a few landmarks at the location that remind us of some famous buildings we've seen in real life. One of the more obvious ones is the Clock Tower. It doesn't take a genius to realize that it looks a lot like another well-known clock tower found across the pond. Of course, we're talking about Big Ben, the giant clock tower found in London, England. Everyone around the world recognizes this old and iconic clock tower. It's become a tourist attraction all by itself. The funny thing is, Big Ben is a tower with a slight tilt, meaning, you guessed it, it's a real-life tilted tower in Tilted Towers. Ain't that something? Sure, the shape and the architecture aren't exactly the same, but having a tilted clock tower in a location called Tilted Towers is no coincidence. It was clearly inspired by everyone's favorite tilted clock tower, Big Ben. The tallest building in Tilted Towers is probably the most interesting one. It goes by many names. Castle, Trump Tower, that building over there, the ugly building that multiple squads always land at, yeah, that thing. While it's quite famous, one of these names stands out from the bunch. We're talking about Trump Tower. We honestly have no idea why they call it that. What about this building even slightly resembles Trump Tower? Trump Tower is a modern building almost completely made up of glass windows from the outside, but the one in Fortnite looks a lot like a castle with stone walls and arches, which is why we're surprised that call-out hasn't really caught on as much. This all got us realizing that maybe it could all just be a joke that we're too slow to catch on to. Maybe it's called Trump Tower because the stone walls of the building are somehow connected to the proposed wall along the US-Mexico border? Maybe that's the connection. Who knows? Whatever the case may be, we'll just keep calling it Castle because it looks like a castle. We're simple folk. We see it looks like a castle and we call it a castle. It's just as easy as that. There's plenty of cornfields in the world, so you're probably not surprised to know that the one in Fatal Fields is based off of a real-life location. But we're not just talking about any cornfield, we're talking about corn mazes. You know, the ones that every farmer loves to create on Halloween to scare the heck out of trick-or-treaters. Players like Yode love to play some hide-and-seek in these cornfields, but it might not be the best idea in real life. You can't be seen by a tractor, and it's become a bit of a horror movie trope at this point for there to be someone like the Big Bad Wolf or Jason Voorhees lurking in them. Honestly, we should get some kind of hide-and-seek LTM in a giant corn maze. Have one seeker and then 3 hiders. The hiders won't be able to use weapons, and we'll have a goal to achieve as a group while it's up to the seeker to find them and then take them out using whatever weapons they can get their hands on inside of the maze. It'd actually be a pretty neat idea. We should start an online petition for it. We've been taking a look at some individual locations, but why not check out the Fortnite map as a whole? You see, if you're a master of geography and stuff, then you'll notice that the Fortnite map looks a lot like a certain Eastern European country. Yep, that's right. It's Poland. Just look at the Fortnite map and then a map of Poland side by side. They look pretty freaking similar, don't they? Now, they're not spitting images of each other, but they're pretty close in our book. They both have a river that runs through them. The Vistula in Poland and the oh no, I actually got across this thing river in Fortnite. To top it all off, even the regions of the Fortnite map are similar to those in Poland. Grasslands is in the middle, mountains to the east and west, the main city right next to the river, and a snowy region. There's actually even more similarities to the two than we thought. Believe it or not, there's also a desert in Poland, known as the Błędów Desert. So literally, all biomes in Fortnite are covered, even the rivers. We seriously doubt that's a coincidence. So with that said, Battle Royale Island is Poland, confirmed. We've mainly been showing you how our world has been crossing into Fortnite, but now we're going to take a look at Fortnite crossing into our world. The motto of Season 5 was Worlds Collide, and that they did. To help market the game, Epic Games decided to place some loot llamas all around the world. If you thought these were going to be just small little llamas, you were mistaken. Epic Games clearly invested a decent chunk of cash into getting these llamas produced because they're sturdy, life-size, and made of metal. We just haven't figured out how to open them yet. Seven and one of his friends decided to make a vlog about finding a loot llama in real life, and that's exactly what they ended up doing. The llama was halfway inside a London telephone booth. While he's one of the only YouTubers to film an encounter with a loot llama, this isn't the only one in the world. Far from it, actually. These llamas seem to travel well, as they've also been seen in Barcelona, Spain, Warsaw, Poland, and Cologne, Germany. They sure seem to love Europe, though, and we honestly can't blame them. Oh hey, another connection to Poland. Would you look at that? The best place to get some burgers and fries is at Der Burger. For just 10 V-Bucks, you could get yourself a burger, large fries, and an extra large drink. That's a great deal. But this was all before Season 7 rolled into town and covered Greasy Grove in snow and ice. Now, Der Burger is out of business, with the beef boss taking his frustrations out on 99 other players. We feel for him, honestly, we do. In Season 5, when Der Burger was still going on strong, the Der Burger head on the building got sent to planet Earth before going back to the world of Fortnite. We're not even joking. After hearing rumblings around town about Der Burger being seen in the middle of the desert, Nadeshot went with a friend to investigate. Not only did he find the Der Burger, but he noticed a police car that looks exactly like the ones in Fortnite, and an agent asking for information about this anomaly. She was, an interesting character. Let's just put it that way. Sadly, the weather didn't cooperate with Nadeshot, so he had to go home early, but still, at least he got to experience a once-in-a-lifetime event. And those were just some Fortnite Season 8 locations in real life. What location in Fortnite is your favorite? Are there any based on real-life locations that we may have missed? Let us know in the comments section. It's below, and don't forget to subscribe to CBR for more Fortnite videos. Thanks for watching.